For the first time this season, I would say Oxford get something in a game where they don't play very well. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Very Biased Opinions. It is Ian and Thomas with you for another review of another Oxford United game. Today, the Yellows were away to Blackpool. If you haven't checked out the preview video that we did, there's a link to that in the top corner, so I definitely recommend you check that out. So I'm not going over a lot of old ground. Oxford were unchanged as expected from the side that drew 1-1 with Hull last weekend. There were some injury concerns to Moore and McGuane, but they both came through. But Mark Sykes out of the 18 again, and he is joined by another person who has been weirdly frozen out by Carl Robinson, and that is Sean Clare. We will get to that at the end because Robinson did have some words on that one. Blackpool, from all my talk of saying they line up 4-3-3, they did exactly what Thomas does and changed their system to pick whoever they're playing against. They were more 4-1-4-1. The danger men, Medine, Kai and Hamilton were all there. Woodburn started, which is rare, and Garbutt was on the bench. And probably most surprisingly was Jerry Yates missed out. But we're expecting a good game. Let's see how the Yellows got on.
This match ended full of excitement. I am thrilled by the scoreline. It has ended Blackpool 0, Oxford United 0. Tell me about this game. Obviously, as far as I can tell, there were 0 highlights.
No, I wouldn't quite go that far. There were some highlights. There wasn't a lot of good football played, I must admit. It was really strange, and we talked about it possibly being a good game with two sides wanting to counter and press each other, but if anything, that made the game very, very frenetic. Did make it frenetic, but very scrappy. And Oxford especially were really poor, hardly played any football in this game. It's probably one of the worst footballing games I've seen Oxford in terms of the passing and actually like just the quality on the ball. Blackpool looked a lot more, not happy to play that game, but a lot more able to adapt to that game. And I would certainly say, despite Oxford having a couple of good late chances, it was probably leaning more towards Blackpool than it was towards Oxford. But ultimately, neither side could do anything. And it is ended with a 0-0 draw, which at the very least extends both sides' unbeaten runs, gives Oxford another point, another clean sheet against a decent side. So you can't, there is stuff to moan about, but you can't be too critical.
No, so you said that you were happy for halftime when we were speaking earlier. You said it was a real frenetic end to the first half with Blackpool properly edging it at that point. Second half, did Oxford respond? Did Carl make substitutions that made a difference?
Eventually, but just again just to go back on the first half, but it was unbelievable how direct Oxford were. Oxford was so direct in this game. It was almost like they were really scared to play any football through midfield and didn't want to play the ball at all in their half. Maybe a wise strategy, because you did see when Blackpool were able to turn it over, they were good. And at the end of the longer the game went on in the first half, Blackpool did get better and did create some really good chances at the end. There was a good move, and Kai should have had a shot on goal, but he slipped just as the ball came back to him, and Oxford got away with it. And then just out of nothing, CJ Hamilton just took this pot shot from the edge of the box, smacked against the post. Eastwood, so used to saying Eastwood. Stevens beaten, and then right at the end, Husbands got in behind when Oxford counter-attacking really on the left-hand side. Stevens came out, got nowhere near it. Husbands went round him, tried to square it, but his pass was overhit, and Oxford very much got away with it in the first half. Lucky to go in 0-0. Second half started much the first half started as well, with Blackpool in the ascendancy and Oxford really struggling. And certainly, there was an injury to Rob Atkinson who went off, and Oxford looked all over the place until Massinio kind of like got his head in the game. But eventually, Oxford did get better, and they did start to look a bit better when the subs came on. And I would say, yeah, Carl Robinson did a decent job with the substitutions he made.
So we end in the second half. What chances were there? Did Blackpool get close to getting a goal at any point?
Yeah, they did. Well, obviously, they looked dangerous when they went forward. Again, CJ Hamilton, who I think he must have run over a black cat on the way to the game because his luck was completely out, looked dangerous, and he had Ruffles a really torrid game for Ruffles again. He's had a few bad games in a week now. In a few weeks, we'll talk about that maybe a bit more at the end. But he had a deflected shot which hit the bar. So he hit the bar and he hit the post in the same game. So it was very unlucky. But other than that, they did look dangerous, but they didn't really force Stevens into making too many saves, I would say. And certainly Oxford had two really good chances at the end of this match, and they both came through the substitutes. I'll just say that the subs that came on, obviously Atkinson went off with a hip problem. It doesn't look like it's going to be too, but it looked like a contact injury more than anything else. But Moose came on instead of him. Jamie Hanson came on again as well. We talked about him in like being the forgotten man who's only just coming back from injury. He came in, and I thought he did quite well. They sort of put him with Goran as two holding midfield players, and Oxford looks a lot more assured with him just tidying up alongside Alex Goran as well. Adji came on and was erratic, as he always is. Shadipo came on and Rob Hall came on. And it was Hall and Shadipo who provided the best spark for Oxford. Hall got the ball, played in Shadipo down the left. It was the first time we'd got turned Blackpool, running at them with pace. He got in acres of space. There were three players in the box. Unfortunately, he chose to shoot straight at the keeper rather than to lay it on. It looked really bad. If you see the goal he scored on Tuesday night, you can understand why he did it, because he would have been full of confidence to think, I'm going to score this. But in hindsight, it wasn't the right decision. And right at the end of the game, free kick put in again by Rob Hall, who could have ended up with 2 assists in this match. John Massinho unmarked, brilliant header, but a wonderful save by Maxwell in the Blackpool goal. Pushed it onto the post, and it looked like Oxford might have nicked it late with that one, but wasn't to be. And we were but I think overall we're quite happy to just travel back down south with a point.
I have a couple questions for you that relate to the bigger picture, but is there anything else you'd like to say on this match before we move on?
I just want to say that I thought Sam Long had a really good game. I thought he was my man of the match. I mean, he was easy to spot on the pitch because he still had a bandaged head from the injury he had last weekend, but just so solid. Just always seemed to be in the right place, always seemed to be covering. It was a bit, his football wasn't great going forward, but his defensive work was really good, and I thought he made a number of telling stops and blocks and challenges in this game, and easily was my man of the match for what that means.
Excellent. Right. Question the first, Ian Allen, is that Oxford have only managed to score, I believe it's 6 goals in their last 7 matches now. 8 matches.
Sounds about right.
I believe it is. It's about right.
Yep.
What is this season turning into 2 years ago?
Absolutely. It's amazing how many things mirror that season of just it's a poor start. Even going back to we looked like we had a settled squad like we did 2 years ago, but the start was really poor. Then we got injuries to key players. We looked like we're in a relegation fight when we should be playing much higher up the league. Now we've entered that period where we're not losing, but we go on a long unbeaten run, but we're not winning games. We're just picking up points, which doesn't really change our situation or too much. It's unbelievable how much this season is looking like 2 years ago, but scoring goals is a problem I just don't see being a quick fix at all. Yeah, I'm
not trying to be doom and gloom. These are genuine questions.
It's a massive concern, Thomas. You're quite right to raise it. Taylor is so isolated. He hardly has a chance. I don't think he's had a chance since he missed a chance against Swindon to go 2-0 up. I don't think he's had a chance in 3 games. And people will mock him and say he's not doing enough, but he is putting the work in. But he's not a bloody hold-up, man. He isn't a hold-up, and he's trying to do that job the best of his ability. And he'd hope for some return for some quality crosses or some incisive play that creates him a chance inside the penalty area, but it just doesn't happen.
I mean, Wimbledon, MK Dons, Rochdale, Swindon, Shrewsbury, the only team in the league that has scored less goals. Burton have scored more. The only team who scored less are Wigan. So you certainly feel that if they can even either add a player that can chip in with 10 goals this season or find 10 goals from somewhere in this team, that it won't be half as bad as it is right now. It really is just goals missing right now. Without them, they're never going to get their confidence back up, are they?
No. I mean, again, we talk about we are playing sides. We are coming up against a run of games with sides in the bottom half of the league rather than the top. And so hopefully Oxford might be a little bit more on the front foot in those games and creating some chances for Taylor to get his confidence up. But yeah, it always seems to be a problem. It seems, I mean, it's actually the first time in a game for a long time I've actually seen Carl Robinson like change the shape, which was at least encouraging to see. But never did he like want to try and play another man up front with Taylor. And maybe this wasn't the right game to do it, but I don't know. It's so annoying.
This leads me in really well to this. So you talk about another man up front. Dan Adjie, Matt Sykes, Sean Clare have all been publicly trashed. Simon Eastwood's been dropped, which for a goalkeeper, that's about as bad as it can get, whether they deserve it or not. And in this case, we think he does deserve to have been dropped. But that's 4 of a squad of 21 now that have basically had Carl Robinson come out and go, no, I'm done with all of you.
It does seem bizarre. I mean, other than the Eastwood one, which it looked like it did need to be a change, and that's fair enough. But the Adjie one hasn't got the right effect from him. We haven't seen Mark Sykes other than the Papa John, so who knows what effect that's had on him. The Sean Clare one is like, it's weird because obviously everyone hated him. I didn't, but every other Oxford fan seemed to absolutely hate this guy when he was a right back, right? And Robinson was then defending him. Now he's being used more as an attacking player. He's actually been all right when he's come off the bench. He's got pace. He looks like quite a player that can influence games coming off the bench. And now's the time Robinson picks to slag him off. Like, just seems very, very strange in that one. There's messages to the side as well. Like, yes, great, Jamie Hanson, really good for him to come back in. And he did well. But like, what sort of a message does that send to like Anthony Ford, who's come in and had to play all over a number of positions this season to fill in, and then all of a sudden another guy comes back in from the cold and it's the first replacement ahead of him. It's Robbo, isn't it? He's a basket case.
He's an absolute boss.
When things are going well, he's a joy to listen to. When things are not going well, I think you've described it quite well as the ramblings of a lunatic.
Well, their form isn't too bad. They've clawed themselves out of the relegation zone, be it on goal difference. Thank you, Swindon Town. What do you have any last thoughts you want to add before we head off and actually record our predictions for the next match?
No, I will just say, I thought Blackpool looked a useful side. Blackpool fans, how do you think? I mean, you can't think your side played that well. You probably think you deserve to win because we'll always be favourable to our own sides. But let me know what you guys think of it, or whether you think we deserve to win it. You probably think you did, or how well that's been compared to other games you've had as well. And I will just say the one thing about Oxford, we were crap defensively at the start of the season, and we are looking a lot better at the back.
Really quickly, and I know this is a ridiculous question to ask, but as an American, draws obviously aren't in my DNA. I'm not allowed to accept them. So if you had to pick which team deserved to win this game, who was it?
Blackpool.
Cool. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. Thank you for everything you guys do for us. Please have a look below at some links. We're not going to keep you here any longer. We will see you at League One predictions for the next round.